Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep choosing partners who are just not right for me? It's a question a lot of us have. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down one creator's viral theory that might just have the answer. Let's get right into it.
All right, so here's the big question, the one that can feel like this super frustrating cycle. But according to this creator, the answer might not be as complicated as we think. She argues it really just comes down to a few key pressures and choices we tend to, well, overlook. Okay, so her first major point, it's all about the power of appearances. She says that our whole dating culture puts this huge emphasis on what's on the outside. The superficial stuff, the signals of being cool, and that often comes at the expense of what actually matters.
And what's really interesting is how specific she gets. She creates this contrast, right? You've got the person with the kind of casual, unbuttoned shirt and that knows everything vibe, versus the person who's maybe a little more put together, sincere, and focused. The cool ideal is all about being carefree, maybe a little detached, while the person we overlook is seen as too simple or maybe too serious. It's that classic battle of style over substance. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Her argument is that we get so caught up in this perfect, curated image of what a partner should look like that the truly genuine people, the ones with actual character, they just get passed over. They don't fit that cool mold, so they get left behind. So that's piece number one, our obsession with how things look. But it doesn't stop there. Her second key point is about the intense social pressure to just have a partner, any partner. And that pressure forces us into making really hasty decisions for all the wrong reasons. I mean, just look at these reasons. Sound familiar to anyone? She points to these really shallow, almost deadline-driven excuses we use to jump into relationships. It's not about finding a real connection anymore. It's about filling a social requirement. Valentine's Day is around the corner, or all your friends have a date for movie night. She argues that at the root of it all is this powerful fear of being alone. And here's the real consequence of that pressure. When a relationship starts just to check a box, well, it has no foundation. The speaker puts it so bluntly. A relationship you can get into in one day is a relationship you can be tossed out of just as fast. There's no depth and ultimately no real value. So if we're all busy choosing partners based on these fleeting trends and social pressures, who are we missing out on? This brings us to her alternative. This archetype of the person who she says holds the key to real long-term happiness, but is so often just completely ignored. She has this great term for this person, the library boy or library girl. Now, this isn't literally about someone who lives in a library, of course. It's a symbol, right? It's for that studious, focused person who couldn't care less about the latest trends or social games. Their focus is on building a real life, not just crafting an image. And this is the real payoff in her argument. She says that because this person is focused on substance, on their education, their career, their character, they're the ones who actually build stable, happy, fulfilling lives. So choosing a partner like that means you're choosing a future built on something real. Okay, so up until now, this has all been theory, right? But this is where it gets real, really real. To prove her point, she shares this incredibly personal story about her own husband, putting her entire philosophy to the test out in the real world. So the story goes like this. Her viewers kept asking and asking to see her husband. So she finally gave in and featured him in a video. But instead of seeing the person she loved, the audience immediately jumped in with a flood of comments, all focused on just one thing, his looks. And this right here, this was one of the most common things people said. It's a Hindi phrase, and for those who don't know, it translates to, the monkey got the grapes. It's a really harsh and kind of derogatory thing to say when people think an unattractive person has ended up with an attractive one. A brutal, purely superficial judgment. And this comparison just perfectly captures the massive disconnect, doesn't it? On one hand, you have the public's perception. What they saw was a mismatch based on nothing more than a snapshot of their appearances. But her lived reality, the huge, important part hidden under the surface, was a partnership built entirely on his character, supported by his good heart, the very things none of those critics could ever see. And this is her powerful conclusion to the whole story, her mic drop moment. She says, flat out, that her success, her happiness, everything she is today is a direct result of his character. His good heart is the foundation of everything. It's the ultimate answer to all those superficial comments. So after all that, what are we supposed to do? Well, her advice is actually pretty straightforward. Number one, you have to learn to look past the surface stuff. Number two, make a conscious choice to prioritize what's inside, a person's heart, their genuine character. And finally, she believes that when you start valuing what's real and substantial in someone else, you'll find that others start to see and value the true substance in you too.
And that really brings us to the question that this whole thing leaves us with. In a world that's always pushing us to value the superficial, her story is a challenge to all of us to maybe redefine our own priorities. It kind of forces you to ask yourself, what am I really looking for, and what truly matters?